Howdy, partner. Welcome to the Mind Sculptors, where we shoot from the hip. My name is Texian, and this is my my
This is my comrade,
Cowboy Lahan. Cowpoke Lahan. I don't. What is the gender neutral version of cowfolk?
of cowfolk.
Well, cowfolk are maybe actually like a hybrid people.
Yeah, cowfolk sounds like something that should be in Middle Earth.
You know what? I'm gonna pause right here. Wizards of the Coast, you don't have the balls to make cowfolk in one of your set.
Mark Rosewater, we're calling you out right now.
Gavin Verhey, you know, we've run across each other through time and space, and I just think maybe you could have the balls to make cowfolk. I think maybe
you've made merfolk, you've made tree folk,
you made tree folk,
but do you have the nards, the hair on your chest,
the cajon,
the audacity,
the gumption? Hell yeah. Okay, I got the last one.
Oh my gosh. I think my favorite part about having you on this podcast every week is the fucking around of like us trying to like fuck around as much as possible while also like delivering something that is like close to like
consumable content. Yeah. Well, I think it is fucking around and sequentially then finding out.
Yeah. So yeah, welcome to the podcast. I am like you said, I'm Cowboy Lahan. Cowfolk Lahan.
Yeah.
I'm a cowfolk wizard. I'm a base.
Yeah, I don't know why I got to get away with Texas and put you as cowboy.
Yeah. Honestly, if either of us were more Texas, it's probably me.
Yeah, for sure. I'm a scrawny little white boy from Massachusetts. For sure, I am not Texas.
Oh my goodness. So I gotta say, this has nothing to do with magic. It has nothing to do with cowfolk or Texas or Massachusetts.
Is it sports? I'm out if it's sports.
It doesn't have anything to do with sports.
Fuck yeah.
It does have to do with the fact that yesterday I was coming home, running a few errands. Go to the door of my building, which by the way, our elevator is still out.
Sick.
So fucking love that for us.
Yeah, that's great. I love that.
Getting our steps in. Like it was not intentional, nor was it requested. But we are getting our steps in. So I come home, and so like I live in an apartment complex. People get evicted sometimes, right?
Yep.
Usually, I have not seen eviction notices posted on the main door to the building. They are posted on like people's doors, right?
Right.
So I come home, and the first thing I see is for this like apartment of like a couple dudes, and it's just an eviction notice
for the
whole apartment to see.
Fucking crazy.
I saw that and I was like, that feels somewhat like an invasion of privacy.
Oh yeah.
Like, I guess I don't really see, like, I thought about it more and I was like, I guess it's not that different from posting it on their door, but like,
yeah.
Like, it feels different though, right? Like, when you think about it, it is functionally about the same, right? Like, there's really no big difference there. It's still public. but like it feels more passive aggressive, right? Like
it's not a good look on the landowner for sure.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Like it's not wrong. However,
I would be hesitant to call it right.
well, it's not wrong in the sense that they are breaking law. Let's say that.
Yeah.
Morally and ethically wrong. Perhaps it is. Obviously, I don't know the whole situation, but you know, if you are a a rental property or a person who rents property, there's a pretty good chance that you are not following any good moral or ethical codes.
Damn, tell them how it is.
The funny, I mean, people don't understand. I'm a lot more of a commie than people think I am.
Oh boy, do I have a not podcast story for you?
Oh boy, I want to hear it so bad.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something that
before we do, something entered my frame of mind, right? So with what we're going to talk about today, I was like, okay, let me look at new cards, see if anything new's come out for what we're going to talk about. And I saw the Ixalan page, and I was like, oh, let me just click it again. And you know what's going to drive me crazy until it comes out is the new red god. I think that card's actually going to be like the first mono red damage commander payoff that like actually works. Yeah, like Torbrand was really close, I think. I think people have gotten very close with it. I think like there's been a number of other ones that are like I think someone tried playing like a Solifim deck and like did something with it recently, I think. It was at like not a huge tournament, but I think someone did something with it, and I was like falling asleep seeing this deck, and my mind was blown.
Maybe it was actually in your sleep you saw this.
No, it's Commander Invasion. Yeah. Oh, it was is that the event that was not in the US, maybe?
Isn't Commander Invasion the one that's in Japan?
I don't know. Let me look it up.
Feels like it's the one that's in Japan.
Commander Invasion. Oh yeah, no, it was the one that was in Hamburg, and it had like 100.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of which, did you hear about the controversy with that?
No.
So apparently, there's the cEDH tournament, right? And the finals match, they basically were like they had to put a timer on the semifinals because something came up, right? And I think like it had something to do with like the event space or something like that. And they said the person with the highest, they added this in the semifinals. They added this rule, right? They go, if it's a draw at that time, the person with the highest life total just goes to the finals, right? So everyone was like not happy about that, right? One of the pods, this is what I've been told, right? Let me see here. Okay, actually, here's a write-up on it. This is where the question just goes. Apparently, two pods weren't informed properly that when time is called, the win is given to the player with the highest life total. Last two pods are informed of this with about 30 and 17 minutes left on the clock.
I mean, that greatly changes the way you play.
The squad and pod agrees is a horrible way of deciding a game winner. And life is not when life is a resource, right? So the pod takes a decision with ruling why is a no-no, and they decide by dice rolls. Head judge notices this, immediately calls the pod out, and gives all the players a game loss. So then, if you notice, they just said they gave all the players a game loss. Meaning there were 3 players in the finals.
I hate this.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's crazy that the players were like, yeah, this is objectively bad, right? We might as well gamble. And then they were like, yeah, okay, no, all 3
well,
of you.
Okay, so first.
I think their decision to like go for it was not smart, right? The way I've been told the story was that they had objectively like said that they weren't going to do it, and then they were DQ'd. which is not quite the case. There's a little more context there, which is like you did a thing you can't do, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. Is it's like, you know, if you like on one hand, like so what should have happened?
Yeah.
If you're already in this fucked scenario, you just take the person with the second highest life total from the highest pod and pull them in. Granted, you've made this like, you know,
it's awful. It's
you've
an
made
awful
this
situation.
audible, so you're already in like a fucked situation. But
right. But anyways,
that's kind of on like everybody on that. That kind of sounds like a failure of like everybody involved.
Yeah,
just
I mean, like to be
up.
honest, as a TO, if you're instituting a last minute change like that's to me is like unacceptable. I think the players were very, very ill advised by going for the dice roll thing. Like you got to know as a tournament player that
You just never do that,
like
period.
one thing you can't do. I think there is a world where you say like, hi, all four of us object to this change and would like a difference next time or this time and like make a big deal out of it. That's fine. Like I think everyone has the right to like, you know, stick a claim in what they believe in, but like, but then being like, well then we'll gamble. It's like, no, wait, you lost the thread of the narrative there for sure.
That one ain't it, Chief. God, rolling dice, man. Just I feel like I have so many stories from over the years of like judging or being involved in this game where something has happened that's weird or crazy, and then players decide, oh, let's just, you know, roll dice for it, and then those players get DQ'd or something, and it's like, hey guys, how many times do we need to have the same conversation over again? Like just don't make it like you cannot just. They literally say at the beginning of events, you cannot determine the outcome of games by random chance.
Yep. Oh yeah, for sure.
Like,
no, I'm with you. But all of that to be said, bringing up this tournament was that a Solifem deck did make the top 16. I'm not sure if they were one of the DQ players or if they were one of the people eliminated in top 16. But that's the Praetor that doubles damage, which is pretty cool.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So Mono Red's back on the menu, baby. And then I figured if that card's good, then the new one's got to be insane, right? Like the fact that like you can have a sardine.
One that definitely doesn't look like Bane from Baldur's Gate, or not Bane, Ball. The like all art of it looks like the symbol for Ball from Dungeons
Still haven't played the game, so couldn't tell you.
Well, it doesn't even like it. Ball is just a like god in Forgotten Realms, regardless. But
understood.
My Forgotten Realms friends out there will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know, the cool kids out there. You need to get the game so that we can do a playthrough of it together.
I agree.
Because I think that would be so much fucking fun. I'm doing a playthrough right now as a Tiefling Paladin Warlock, which is super fun.
Yeah.
Well, the fun thing is when you play as a Paladin and as a Warlock, you get to refresh your smite smells every your smite spells every short rest because you just use your Warlock spell slots, and it's super fucking cool.
And now that half the audience has officially left,
Are you kidding? Most of our audience uses time codes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I'm sorry. Now that most of the audience has decided that they will use the time code in the description down below, or in the comments down below.
Yeah. So this will be coming out on Monday because you know, we're recording this in the past.
Yes.
And
wait, what?
We are what?
I'm joking.
Oh, okay. You said that with enough earnestness that it threw me off. And we will be playing in Mox Masters events this weekend. You're going to the Invitational because you're, you know, fucking good at Magic, and I'm going to be playing in the Open because I don't want to play in the Invitational. or not in the Invitational, but I don't want to play in the last chance qualifier. Probably not make it, and then have wasted money. So I'm just gonna play in the open.
Take your defeatist attitude and stick it, Cal. Go play the qualifier. Do it.
You know what? If I had more money,
yeah, that's fair,
available, and we had planned on going to this sooner,
yeah,
and so that Casty could take off time from work,
yeah.
I'd absolutely be playing the else. But it was just like it was just not. It was like kind of like the perfect storm of like things that didn't line up. Where I was just kind of like, you know what? It's not a huge deal.
Yeah.
I don't have to play in the 10K. I can just play in the 4K. It'll be okay. But we are both playing Tiv, the Time Man Taylor.
I will not be playing that specific variant of this deck for sure.
The funny thing is our decks are only like, I think like 10 cards off.
Yeah, it's not that bad. I mean, most Tivit lists are within a certain realm of reality.
I mean, like, I think most of our differences are just like, I feel like at most play style differences.
Sure.
Yeah. So in today we kind of thought it would be fun to kind of go through and talk about some of the rationale for what we're thinking about going into this tournament, why we're going for certain card choices, and also work through maybe some of our card choices because we're both a little like unsure of exactly the 99 we want to be playing.
Yeah.
And just show you some of give you a little bit of behind the scenes on what our bullshit looks like when we're talking through decks and exactly what to include in our decks. You have a Miri tail in.
I do. Yeah,
it is very cute. So let's send me your list real quick so I can see your list.
The public one I've been using for quite some time.
Public one.
Yeah.
So basically, I think a good place to start is going into this event. Obviously, we're playing different sides of the event, but what are you kind of expecting from a competition standpoint where you are thinking like this is where you want to be and the logic behind it?
Yeah, so I really am not sure like because I know several people that have qualified for the open, right? But I know that I know infinitely less people than I should, right? Because I'm not sure like who's done well at a couple tournaments, who's done well at every tournament, who can even make it out to this, right? Like obviously there's going to be some familiar names that you see at every tournament, right? You're going to see your Freedom Waffles and your Wounded Satellites and people like that. And Just Ice, yep, absolutely. And definitely a lot of people I know from that department of things, right? So there's that aspect of it.
The Just Ice department.
The Justice. And so I'm definitely expecting to see a certain. Are you using Tiv the Time Man as your most updated version?
Yeah, Tiv the Time Man is where I'm at right now.
Okay, cool. So I'm definitely expecting to see like the quote unquote regulars for sure. And then there's gonna also be like people who have qualified through the Playing with Power League, right? Like it's been a while since the qualifier happened, right? And it's been many tournaments. And so that's kind of an interesting aspect to it, right? There's been some European winners who like I don't think are making it out, right? Like so I don't see people who I know like Memo or a lot of the Tyam pilots. I don't expect to see out. So there's a certain part of like the expected.
Darn, no Tyam.
But I don't expect to see like all of the normal Mox Masters attendees there, right? There's a certain level of like, okay, but like how many people can reasonably get here, right? So that's definitely an aspect to think about for sure. And with all that being said, there's definitely like several different aspects of this tournament that I think are going to be like people bringing their best foot forward, right? Like it is an
Mhm.
invitational. It is a big tournament at the end of a year's worth of tournaments, right? So, no one's going to be, well, I shouldn't say nobody. I think considerably less people are going to be bringing their like spice to a tournament like this. I found myself wanting to build certain decks this week and this month, and I'm just like, I don't have the capacity to be able to do that right now. You know what I mean?
I was actually thinking about that, about how like I've been really, especially because over the last few months, we've been talking a lot about like Yidris and specifically like Green and Nas. And I like can't get my brain off of it. And I want to like spend time and play it and take it to something. But I literally like this week was like the first week where I could actually dedicate time to it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have 3 days. I just don't have enough time to
literally
put this all together.
I know. I literally went from tournament to spending an entire week helping Lou with Comic-Con to tournament. So like, I've had zero time.
And don't even like it. And that's not even also acknowledging the fact that you were at like cons before that too, right? Like you've just been like on the go for like 2.5 months.
Yeah, that is also the case. You can't tell by my voice being burnt out at the start of this podcast. So yeah, there's all those aspects to like what I'm expecting in this tournament, and there's something like poetic about me bringing Tivit to this, right? Because I'm pretty sure, I think I won the first Mox Masters.
The first Mox Masters was the debut of this deck, if I recall correctly.
Yes, I'm pretty sure that was the first Mox Masters. Please, someone correct me if I'm wrong.
It might have been. It was. Was it the second one?
I don't remember.
You keep talking and I'll look.
Yeah. But so it was either the first or second Mox Masters tournament, because I'm pretty sure I won the first one and top 4 the second one. Yeah. All I know is I have a pretty good record with Mox Masters. But yeah, no. So this
Mox Masters October 2022. That is a year ago.
Yeah. I think that was the first one. I'm pretty sure, because what's funny about that? That one and the one after it that I top 4'd, those didn't even count for qualifying for this event. So I was like, yeah, Ryan announced the point system and I was like, sick, dude, I'm in. And he was like, no.
Nope, no, you're not.
I was like, come on, bro. I won in top 4 and I should have more than enough points.
Yeah.
But either way, that was funny at the time. So point being, right, there's something poetic about like winning the first one, going undefeated with Tivit, and then like coming back, repping Tivit again. And just also there's I have won 2 tournaments this month, each on a different deck. And I'm kind of hoping for the 3-peat.
And now you want to go back to the best deck.
Yeah. Look, I love Tivit. I do. There's been times where I'm like, yes, it's the best thing. I'm a little worried about how people perceive me playing Tivit a little bit. Like I'm a little worried about Tivit resolving just ever. Which sucks a bit. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not excited about that part of it, but we'll see how it goes. The other part of me really wanted to play Sisay for this weekend, but I am choosing to still think about it. If I'm being honest.
Here's the thing is that if you play whatever you play going into this weekend, you're going to have that problem.
Yes.
Like I don't think any deck you take I don't think the commander is going to matter in that regard nearly as much, because it's like you won 2 time twisters in a month. Like you're going to be on people's radars.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely recognize that part, which is like upsettingly kind of an argument to play Blue Farmer Kinnan, right? Because like those are decks that can take that wall.
But I also think that's a reasonable argument to play Tivit, because Tivit's like a very good, like, well, I don't have I'm not playing, like, not that worried about getting my commander out right now. So it's like, whatever.
Yeah. That's very fair. Very fair.
It's not like you're trying to turbo out Tivit. You're just kind of like, Tivit's there. And then when you need it, you go for it.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, there are hands where that's more the play pattern than others, but
sure. But yeah, no, I love the idea of playing Tivit this weekend. Me playing Tivit this weekend is entirely, Tivit is probably the deck I feel the most confident on going into a competitive setting. you know, like I said, I'd really like to play a little bit more Storm eventually.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, I'm very interested in doing stuff with like Idris and maybe
Yeah.
trying to uh, take another look at like the Sans White Storm shell a little bit.
Right.
I don't really have as much time that I'd want to dedicate to that, so I'm going to, you know, play the deck I feel the most comfortable on, and you know, of course,
Mhm.
that's Tivit. And it, you know, I got to say, it's kind of funny because you've been playing all of these different decks. I've been starting to field a lot more Tivit questions,
Yeah.
um, because a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, Ian hasn't played Tivit in a minute, so Cal, you play Tivit."
Yeah. I mean, it's been Baltimore. It's not that long.
Listen, man, people have short or what is
Oh,
it?
yeah,
People
for
have
sure.
short attention
Attention
spans.
spans, yeah, for sure.
Um, but yeah, so I, you know, I'm playing the deck that I feel the most comfortable on. I also still think that it's a very well positioned
Yeah.
deck. Your cat is being offensively cute right now.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think going into it, we talked about this a few days ago, where there's like some cards that I'm like, I would love to find a slot for this.
Yeah.
But I feel like we can both comfortably say this, where I feel like both of our decks we feel are like pretty tight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
like I go through the list and I'm like, I don't know what the cut is.
Yes. Yeah,
Uh
for sure. Yeah, and
so
even in so funny enough, I was sleeving up this deck the other day to practice with it and then use it during a coaching session, and I was
mhm,
like, funny enough, the going through and being like, "Oh, where is this card? I can't find this card right now." To be honest, why am I even playing this card? That happened to me like twice, and I was like,
yeah.
"Oh, thank God, I got rid of 2 cards that I was kind of mid on anyways," you know? So
Yeah.
that part was pretty sick.
It's funny to me because like um I just had like all of these iterations of this deck. Like I go through my
Right,
Mox field and
right.
it's just like my deck my deck building process. It's kind of fun to go back and look at my
Right.
deck building process because so much of the process is like go to the extreme of like
Mhm.
a play pattern and then like dial it back.
Absolutely,
Um,
right.
and like you
A
can
part of
see
me
that.
worries that Shieldred is that. I'm not gonna lie.
Do you?
Yeah, yeah. I have Shieldred in the list right now, and I think Shieldred's like sick, right? Like I played it in one game the other day, and it was just like, okay, it was putting pressure on the table, it was doing a bunch of shit, right? But like, I that card makes me like, I don't know, it's so insanely good. The body's great, like the body's freaking criminal. And like legit, like a 4/5 death touch for 4? Are you
Yeah,
fucking kidding me with
it's like
upside?
way above rate.
Yeah, it's, like, insane, and, like, I get why it's, like, $100 card, right? But, like, the other part of that is, like, I'm looking at this card, and I'm like, "Okay," but, like, the other cards that could be in that 4-drop slot are also stupid powerful, right? Like, it's between that Urza and Notion for me, for sure.
So for me, I like Shieldred more than I
Mhm.
like Urza
Yeah.
because of the fact that Urza kind of banks on the idea that you are playing your commander
Right,
to get
right.
the full like value out of that Urza,
For sure.
and
I agree.
and the way that I've been playing the deck and kind of
Yeah.
encouraging people to play the deck
Right.
is maybe don't go as hard into the drop your commander and figure shit out
Mhm, mhm.
path.
Yes, no,
And
I've been pushing the same thing, for sure.
yeah. And I think that's where I like Shieldred more because
Right.
Shieldred, when you just kind of like drop it and then just like it's literally like throwing a loaded gun on the table
Mhm.
because people have to figure out what to do with it and it's kind of hard to deal with.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah, no, I agree with that part, explicitly, like 100%.
yeah.
It is the 2 black investment, that definitely adds up every once in a while, and then the
Mhm.
other aspect of it is, like, it does the, like, eidolon of rhetoric thing, right? Where it, like, it doesn't exactly stop people from
Right.
doing stuff, right? Which is why, so we talked a little bit about, and I know we talked about on the show before, how Notion Thief has sort of fallen off just in general because
Mhm.
of, Bowmasters, right? Which is like perfectly logical sort of
Right.
progression of events, right? The sort of like counter to that is that, uh, Notion Thief, I've seen it played now in many games, and I think because people aren't expecting it to be around anymore, it's actually performing at a higher level,
Right.
which I find really interesting.
I mean, like, I think there is. This is what's kind of interesting because I talked about this,
Yeah.
like burping here. Can you tell I'm on my second monster? So it's kind of interesting because like I talked to Phoenix about this a little bit, and he was like saying like cut like this 2-drop or whatever to play like
Right.
Notion Thief, and I'm like, I feel like the deck is at the like 4-drop capacity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where, you know, I I know for my version, I'm on Kitten, Metamorph, Shieldred, Talion, Beseech the Mirror, Mindbreak Trap, the One
Mhm.
Ring, Smothering Tithe. Like we
Yeah,
have,
I think we have the same amount of 4 drops for sure.
yeah, it's like I have a bunch of big 4-drops, and like if I'm cutting something for Notion Thief, I I am I so like no right now I have Narset Parter Veils kind of in that Notion
I
Thief
did see that.
slot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I kind of like Narset a little bit more.
Sure.
Um from the perspective of so Bowmasters like
Yeah.
stops both of them pretty equally. Granted,
Mhm.
this one has the benefit of being able to like hang around a little bit longer than an Ocean Thief. Um,
Yeah, I will definitely give you that for sure.
and the other thing that I like about it is that it is card selection, which is
Mhm.
a thing that when you're playing a control deck, I really like. Um,
Yeah. You know, honestly, I didn't really even think about Narset, but you're kinda selling me on it, I'm not gonna lie. It was one of those things I saw on your list, and I was like, "Ah, yeah, whatever." But
yeah,
now that I'm thinking about it, like, it really does, it really, because the whole point of me really being high on Notion Thief right now is that it really dunks on blue form, right?
right,
Um, and so there's a certain aspect of like, okay, but like until you get Tivit down, you can't block a Crom, and you're not gonna block a Crom because you want to attack with Tivit, right?
right.
Minamo being the exception to the rule there. Uh, but I don't know. There's something about that idea that like, yeah, so you're gonna get aggroed pretty hard, right?
Hmm.
But we also have cards like Shieldred to, you know, gum up the board so that they need to use like a Crom to be able to get it. And like if defending a Narset is worth like leaving up Tivit as a blocker, I think that's probably an equation worth like running in your head,
Oh,
you know?
absolutely.
Yeah. So that's really interesting to me. You know, it's sort of the equation of like, okay, do I want my Narset to be board wipe proof? Do I want it to be Bowmasters proof? Or do I want the ability to take my opponent's draws, have a bit of a more expensive flash threat,
Right,
but also have it be a little more like Crom proof, basically?
right. I I really like the um the other thing that I like about it is
Mm,
I don't like the whole like I have a Notion Thief, then you have a Notion Thief, and then we all have a Notion Thief, and then like figuring that stuff out. And it just kind of says
sure.
no to all of that.
Yeah.
Um and part of
I'm not really usually worried in those circumstances, but
I'm
I
not
get it.
either. Like I mean, and this is kind of my like this is more of a like testament to how like I tend to put in I tend to include cards that cover like as many bases as possible.
Mhm, mhm.
Um and so like yes, it's a like incredibly fringe scenario, but it is
Yeah, yeah,
a scenario. Um so that's like part of my thought process there. I'll tell you a card
yeah.
that I'm super like not sure if I want to play or not is Tezzeret.
Yeah,
Um
that was one that I it is a difference between our lists, and am a little unsure about it too.
I am as well. It is a card that I really like,
Yeah.
but also it could be a better card, like or a
Yeah,
different not necessarily a better card. It could be a different card.
Yeah, so
Like,
I literally was just, like, talking last week about how it was one of the MVPs of Kinnan, right?
mhm,
But Kinnan's just, like, a wildly different Tezzeret deck, right?
it
Like, the
is.
ability to, like, go grab Basalt Monolith, keep your Tezzeret out, and then, like, whatever enabler you need, it probably is colorless to be able to activate, right? So
Right.
or unless it's Thrasios, right? So that's a very different world than the world in which Tezzeret is just like, okay, maybe it gets Time Sieve, but, like, you're showing everybody, "Hey, I'm going to get Time Sieve." Or it gets your one ring, which is sick, and that like definitely doesn't hurt. But then you have to fully sacrifice Tezzeret to
Yep.
do that. It's like, how much do you want that, double blue 5 mana one ring,
It's interesting because I actually feel like now that I have Beseech the Mirror, I kind of
Yeah.
like Tezzeret less.
Yeah, I think Beseech really does cover that spot for
Yeah.
sure. Beseech the other day, like, and so like literally I had this
Beseech
in
is
like,
like the MVP of the deck, by the way.
yeah.
Beseech is stupid.
Yeah, so let's
Um,
let's I wanna talk about another pro and con about, Shieldred, which I did not say, before. So there's, like, this, like, I think the big debate for me before Saturday is literally the Shieldred versus Notion debate. You sort of sold me on the Urza can suck a muff argument.
yeah.
So, uh, yeah, like, don't get me wrong, Urza's really strong. I love turning Grafdigger's Rage into a mana rock. Like, I love that shit
Yeah.
any day of the week, right? And the constructs do get out of hand, but not in the same capacity that Children do,
Shieldred
right?
just puts so much the
Yeah,
difference is that Shieldred just is so passive and people
yeah.
don't think about it until it's way too fucking late.
Oh, yeah, absolutely,
And
absolutely.
nobody's like concerned about it until they hit 10 life, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh shit, that Shieldred's really annoying.
Yeah, yeah. Um, one thing I'm actually a little annoyed about with the Invitational was they made this whole announcement like, "Hey, we've got these proxies available," or not, sorry, not proxies, playtest cards available.
Right.
From Playing with Power, you can come grab them, first come, first serve, right? And then they go, "It's first come, first serve, limited quantity." And it's like, okay. So say you're someone who says, "Hey, I really want this card in my deck. I literally cannot afford this thing. I also have to work a job and can only get there Friday night."
Right.
Like, that sucks if you show up to this tournament and then suddenly you're like, okay, yeah, no, I guess I couldn't get a proxy in time. Like, maybe that's me being nitpicky, but like,
I think they
I
should
don't.
absolutely be like, if you put a like request in, they should be
Yes,
available
that's
for
that's
you.
kind of what I'm getting at, right? Is like I want to be able to know that I don't have to fucking lug my time twister to this tournament. I really don't want to have to do that, you
Well,
know.
first of all, you shouldn't be playing Time Twister. You should be playing Windfall.
So this is another conversation I wanted to have is time twister versus Windfall, because I've been on Windfall forever, like actually
Hmm.
forever.
Yep.
I'm leaning back towards time twister. Sell me on Windfall.
So here is why I like Windfall more than I like Time Twister, and
Yes.
it has a lot to do with the fact that it can, in a lot of situations, permanently deal with issues that you know are in people's.
Okay.
So there's at minimum one card in your deck that exiles cards when they go to the graveyard, called Dathi Void.
Death of White. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is that. Part
Yeah.
of the reason that I like Windfall more is
Mhm.
we have a pretty decent amount of grave hate,
Yeah.
and I can manage a threat when it's in a graveyard,
Right.
right?
Okay.
A threat when it's in your library is a lot harder for me to deal. So
Understood.
if I'm
Yeah.
using time, so there were multiple times at Columbus where I used time, or not time twister,
Windfall.
Windfall.
Yeah.
Like I would just sit on it until I saw somebody tutored, and then I was just like, okay, cool, Windfall. And they're like, oh shit, that's not in my hand anymore. And I was like, yeah, that was the point.
Yeah.
Whereas with a time twister, I don't have that same level of like control because they're
Guarantee.
shuffling it
Yeah.
back in. There's
Right.
still a pretty reasonable chance that they get it back.
Right.
Like
Right.
if
No,
I
totally understood.
yeah, what'd you say?
I said totally understood for
Yeah.
sure.
So I like the ability that it's like public information. I can see
Yeah.
it in there. The only downside of it is it does mean that we are a little bit more Savine's rec reliant. Um,
Hmm.
in some scenarios.
Yes.
However, I think that is fine for the most part. Um,
Yeah. I mean, so me being off consultation, it makes like using my tainted pact pretty awkward. Um,
well, I think it's bizarre that you're not on DC, but
okay. So yeah, here let's talk about that. What's your thought process there?
why are you not playing Demonic Consultation
Card sucks.
in your I mean, yeah, but it does exactly what you want it to do when you're winning the game.
That's the thing. I don't think it does what I want it to do. There's been many situations where I have literally lost the game because I have a consult in hand. Like it's just burning a hole in my hand. And the games that it has won me are much fewer and farther in between. I could definitely be sold on putting it back in, but and this is it was one of the tests of this current iteration, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for me, consult is just like I don't know. It is a card that does not consistently provide value, right? It forces you into situations where you're like, oops, accidentally exiled my whole deck. Oh man, I guess I'm screwed because this wasn't literally anything else.
Well, yeah, I don't use it in those situations like ever. I like the way I look at it is it's a 1 mana. So the way literally all I ever use it for, especially after getting burned by it so many times early on when playing this, is because, like in decks like Rogsai and Tim Necrom and stuff, you can use it pretty aggressively. In this deck, you don't use it aggressively, even remotely. And honestly, you probably shouldn't even Taint Pact aggressively.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't mind a deep Taint Pact, but I get your point.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like my like it is a win condition, and I think having the density of win conditions is exactly where I want to be.
Sure.
Time Sieve kind of feels like Garbo on its own also. So it's like,
sure,
that's how I justify it in my head. It's like it's
yeah, but like it's not a one card win condition with your commander, right? Like that's
but the other thing to keep in mind though too is when you're going to win with Thassa's Oracle, it is 1 mana less that you can defend that win attempt. And like I think that is a huge like reason to keep it, because of the fact that like just that in and of itself, you're able to afford, hey, I have this Flusterstorm in hand. And I'm really tight on mana. So
yeah, I am still a Mystical Tutor. Maybe that's what the swap is.
Yeah, Mystical Tutor, poo poo pee pee.
Yeah, there are like more and more I'm cutting that card from a lot of my decks, which is really interesting to me.
Okay, so this is what I've said to people. I think I've said this to you too, but especially in Tivit, which is a control deck.
Sure.
What am I mystical tutoring for? Look at my list and tell me what am I mystical tutoring for? Like,
no, I've had the same conversation like 100 times with people for sure.
Like, and honestly, I feel like that in like every deck that it's in, that isn't like, no, not even in Kark Sakashima. I don't think I would play it either.
Yeah.
It's just I never want to tutor with it ever.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's super fair.
Like,
all right, here's the one I'm gonna hit you with.
Okay.
Pivoting back to cards you're not playing.
Okay.
Why are you not on Minamo?
Minamo? I think that the use case of it is so incredibly like narrow.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
The like untapping Tivit or the One Ring thing, like,
you don't think Tivit with Vigilance is good? I think that's insane.
It is very good, but you know how you don't want to play Homeward Path and Kinnan because of you don't want to play like what's it called, Perplexing Chimera? That's kind of how I feel about this card. Like if I was in green,
it's not colorless, right?
No, it's not colorless, but like if I had green in a crop rotation where I could like easily get that card out regularly, I would be more high on it. But the fact that it is not something that I can consistently land on the table, and it really like the amount of games where it lines up doesn't feel like it's worth the slot for me.
That's interesting because I sort of see the opposite where it's like it's because it's not colorless and because it's blue, it feels extremely like free to me to be able to play this card, right? So like it is like blue is your most important color. You're able to just, once again, I think Tivit with Vigilance is actually insane for stalled out games. And then the One Ring stuff is like cute, but like I don't know, the Vigilant Tivit is awesome, and double draw from One Ring is like very, very good. So that's kind of where I'm with it. And once again, like I would not make this argument for colorless land. Blue land, I will 100%.
Honestly, if I wanted my Tivit to have Vigilance, I would play White Plume Adventure.
So that does.
Yeah, untap a creature at the beginning of every upkeep.
Oh, yeah.
Like White Plume Adventure is that, but like has upside, and I don't need to tap a land down for it.
You know what Charles suggested to me that I found really interesting is Far Traveler, which is
I definitely know what that does.
it's a background, and it says commander creatures have at the end of your turn exile and return them, right? So you literally get to go in, bop someone with Tivit, exile your own Tivit, have it come back to the battlefield.
Yeah.
I thought that one was really, really interesting. I don't know that I'm gonna like play it for this tournament, but I was like, oh, okay, like that's it's actually really sick.
Wouldn't just teleportation circle be better?
It's more expensive.
Is it?
Yeah.
I guess it's 1 mana more expensive, but you can exile anything, not just your commander.
Toss is also probably better in that circumstance too, right?
Yeah. Because it can, at the beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 target artifact or creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. Yeah, so just like Thassa Deep Dwelling is just like actually factually, if you're going to play Far Traveler, just play Thassa, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, it doesn't have like too many synergies in the deck. It works with like Bowman for me. That's it.
it works with Bowmasters. It works to reset Thoracle. It works to reset Metamorph. It works to reset.
That is. I do think the Thoracle example is actually pretty funny. Just being like, all right, cool.
It also can reset if you're playing Narset. It can reset your Narset. Like,
yeah, that's true. That's
like
true.
it can reset a lot of stuff. It can reset your Mystic Remora.
Is it any permanent?
Thassa Deep Dwelling, if I recall, is No, it's target creature. Never mind.
Yeah. Okay. I think Circle is too.
Yeah. So Circle is creature or artifact.
Is Far Traveler too?
No, Far Traveler is just commander creatures. Far Traveler is, let me pull it back up.
At the beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 target tapped creature. Okay, so it has to be a tapped creature too.
Yeah. That's why, like, if I'm playing Far Traveler, like low key, I would just much rather play like, well, I would much rather play Deep Plume or White Plume Adventure, which, like, I actually think is like I actually do think the 2 initiative creatures, those 2 white initiative creatures, are worth like considering. I don't know that I would play them in this tournament, but
not like, the 4-drop one, right?
The 4-drop one's pretty good too, because it gives your stuff pro creatures, or gives up to 1 target creature pro creature when you attack.
Yeah,
which is pretty good when your commander is all about hitting people in the face.
Compared to all the other potential 4-drops in this deck, I'm just not seeing it.
Fully agree. Fully agree. We are in one mind there. But basically my point being is that, like, if I'm considering Manamo, I feel like I have other cards that I would think about, like, because like
those are spells though, right? Like spells are a much more important slot than like you're an Urza Saga, right? Like I would rather much play a Minamo than an Urza Saga.
Yeah. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, untap a creature you control. If you've completed a dungeon, untap all creatures you control instead.
Yeah, it doesn't, like, apart from untapping Tivit.
I don't know that that's entirely true.
What does it do?
Untaps your creatures, so now all your creatures have vigilance.
Yeah,
like I think that's actually quite good.
There are like 2 bodies we care about, I think.
Yeah, but regardless, like I don't know. I've never, when I tested Manamo, I thought it was like I personally liked Urza Saga a lot more.
Sure.
I like being able to just like make a land drop and then like, oh hey, look, here's this Grafdigger's Cage. Well, that's cute. That's funny. Yeah. And then like, you know, I have made bodies with it. I also like, that is one of the lands that I'm like pretty mid on. So like if I were to cut it, I would probably put in Manamo, but I also don't own a Manamo anymore. So it's like, also a relevant piece to that equation.
Right.
But yeah, I do totally get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I just also didn't love like I'm not in love with the card. Like it's a very
Sure.
like feeling for me.
Yeah, I get that. I do. Yeah, I don't know. For me, it feels so free, but
That's fair.
I still, man, I don't know that I'm sold on Time Twister versus Windfall though.
I just cannot like I don't think the math makes sense to me in a control deck to shuffle in people's hands, and like I would much rather use my wheel disruptively than like
Right.
as a grave hate piece.
Sure.
Because like I already play enough grave hate where like getting it into their yard is like pretty hard for them to deal with to begin with.
Yeah, now the Douthie argument is actually pretty solid. I think that is my favorite one so far, is that it turns Douthie Voidwalker into an actual win con. So that's definitely worth sort of exploring in that sense. Like
Yeah.
there's, you know, as far as like, oh, I've had my win con removed. It's like, great, I'll get a big hand, get Douthie, and then just do that, right? Which is pretty sick. So all of that's really interesting to me. Let's see here. Okay. All right. I'm going back and forth between these two.
It's also funny because I think one of my favorite things was the people who commented on my list from Columbus who were like, oh, they're not playing Transmute Artifact because of the budgetary reasons. And it's like, no, I'm actually not playing Transmute Artifact because I just don't like the card.
Yeah, I think you're wrong on that one, but I'll let you have it.
I mean, it is generally I like being able to use Whir of Invention as like a Final Fortune if I need it to be. It also, because you can go grab Time Sieve at instant speed and take an extra turn on top of people. You also don't have to sacrifice an artifact when you cast it. And I cannot tell you how many times I have been playing Tivit and I've had Transmute in hand. And the fact that I needed to sacrifice an artifact threw off the win like math so heavily.
My counter argument is I can't tell you how many times that I would have won with Transmute Artifact that it would be straight up unplayable as a Whir of Invention. Like I would not be able to cast that,
Why? It's the
because
exact same amount of mana.
No, it's not. It's blue. It's supposed to blue, and X.
Well, the X doesn't matter because
Yes,
of the fact
it absolutely does, Callahan. If you sacrifice a 2-drop and go get a 2-drop, it extremely matters.
Sure,
Like,
but
you can cast Transmute for blue and get a Time Sieve onto the battlefield and have enough stuff to sacrifice, right? Whereas
Whir has Improvise.
I'm aware of Improvise.
Yeah, like
doesn't mean you
Improvise like kind of offsets that, where it's just blue. I've never cast like paid actual mana into the X cost.
Right. Yeah, I understand that part. I don't know. I have had many examples where I think I like real life examples of times where I can sacrifice a clue and get there, but like literally with exactly enough artifacts from me. But
it's very funny because like I've had the literal opposite experience of it of, man, if this was a Whir.
Okay. This is an interesting one for sure. I think I'm definitely sticking to my guns on this one.
I'm sticking to my guns on it too, but like all I know is just I'm putting this out into the world. I'm not playing it because of budgetary concerns. I'm playing it because I don't like the card. Just so we are clear, I almost responded to that Moxfield comment to be like, actually,
what you don't realize, commenter.
What you don't realize, commenter, is that you're a fool. I'm actually like 5D chessing you right now.
Oh my god. Why aren't you on Grim Monolith?
I don't like paying 2 mana for it. I'd just rather be on a Talisman.
Okay.
I've lost so much. It just like the play pattern for me. I think it's
Yeah.
a lot worse in a deck where you don't have it post Nas. Like, the way I process it is generally when I'm playing it, I kind of have to take a turn off to play it, and
That is fair.
And I'm in a control deck, and I'd much rather just leave up mana to like interact.
Yeah.
And so like it, I would say this is if I ever do decide to put like Nas into this list, I would probably put that back in because it is significantly better post Nas than it is when I just kind of need to take a turn off the play.
Yeah, I don't know about like I don't associate Grim Monolith with Nas. I associate it with the fact that we have a 6-mana commander in the command zone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just think it like makes more capable hands.
Yeah, it's just I run into this thing where it's just like I will play it and then like I feel like every time I've cast a Grim Monolith in Tivit, I've lost the following turn.
Okay. That's really interesting.
And it happened enough times in a row that I took the card and I threw it across the room.
Yeah. Huh.
I do recognize that I play a pretty slim like mana rock like suite.
Yeah, you're down 2 for me, I think. You're down 2 for me. Actually, you're down I guess you have 2 less mana rocks, and we swap Imposter Mech for top, I guess. The artifact count there.
Yeah.
Which is also another reason the transmute artifact works better with my deck, because I'm on 2 more artifacts.
Right. Well, and also why I like War a lot more is because Imposter Mech is like kind of bananas with War.
Yeah, I like kind of want to be on one more clone. I don't really know though.
I like Imposter Mech a lot. I really like that I can make a dockside without worrying about other people making a copy of my dockside, if that makes sense. Or I can make a copy.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, like I think that's the one thing I like about it. It also can just go ahead.
I would lean more towards Flesh Duplicate personally, now that that's a card. But
if I was in a deck that didn't tutor artifacts as aggressively as this, I would probably like let me put it to you this way.
Yeah.
If I ever move off Whir and I move off Tezzeret both, then I would probably move over to Flesh Duplicate.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a big difference between our decks too. Yeah.
It's just so much easier for me to get access to Imposter Mech.
Yeah, I think that part is definitely very true. Yeah, it's just like another card that feeds Dockside though, which is I'm not super thrilled about.
I've stopped caring. I'm just like, you know what? Everybody's feeding Dockside. It is what it is. Like if I'm making decisions based on that anymore, then I'm just like artificially hamstringing myself.
Right. Understood.
Because like everybody's feeding Dockside, so it's like I can either just like play good cards and deal with it, or like
no, I get it. I for sure get
it. That is the I have played so many decks now in a row that just feed Dockside that I have just made my peace with the fact that I'm feeding Dockside.
Yeah, like you play your Blind Obedience and you hope that's enough.
Yep. Which, by the way, if you're a white deck and you're not playing Blind Obedience, I do think objectively
in the current meta, that's a very
100% incorrect.
Yeah,
like,
no, I'm with you. Like that card is just at an all-time premium for sure.
It is the best Blind Obedience. I was talking to EK about this a couple days ago, where EK's wanting to build a cEDH deck. And we were talking about different decks, and he was like talking about like white decks, and he was just like, oh, I could play this as like a Dockside hate piece. And I was like, the only one card you need is a Dockside hate piece, and it's called Blind Obedience, baby.
Yeah. And in the same vein, Manglehorn.
Yes, Manglehorn's also incredible.
Have you thought about Grand Arbiter?
I have. I tested it.
Yeah.
It kind of comes. So, you know how we feel like on paper, Shieldred feels like it doesn't do enough?
Yeah.
That's what in practice Grand Arbiter feels like.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Where on paper, it feels like it does a ton, right? Like, oh my God, this is super, like really strong, does a ton for you. And then I play it and I'm like, man, this did fucking nothing.
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
That's how I feel about it. It's
yeah.
The card that I am actually very heavily considering cutting, specifically to include to play Dam, because I kind of want to be on Dam as well as Winds and Toxic, is
Yeah.
March of Swirling Mist. I've been
Yes, I
so mid
literally
on
just cut
March.
that. I literally just cut it. Yeah.
It has been the most like card I've
Yeah.
ever played in this deck. There are some decks that it is so good, and this
Yeah.
just ain't it.
Mhm. Yeah. I'm, like, also in the place where I'm, like, considering the Languish Dam swap.
I love a good Languish.
Mhm.
Languish is so good. And because we did talk about this on the show like a few months ago, where we were just kind of like,
Yeah.
Languish and Tivit's just like really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm conflicted, right? Like, I like Winds too, right? But for me, Winds, is just, like, I feel like I'm never overloading it in Tivit. That's where I usually end up on it. In this deck specifically. I definitely can see situations where it happens, right? But like the tempo play of the board wipes, and especially from what I've been seeing from the meta right now, is like I think Wins is an amazing card, and also I just don't know that I'm ever going to get away with it. You know?
That's fair.
Yeah.
I do think like your version can probably get away with it because you're on like Counterbalance. So you have a little
Yeah.
bit more protective pieces for it.
Yeah.
I like it a lot because it's like a card that I don't mind taking a turn off to cast because it like really sets
Mhm.
everybody behind.
Yeah.
So it's like the one card that I'm usually kind of like, all right, well, if I have to tap out to cast this, it's fine. Like
Right.
I usually have a piece of backup with it.
Yeah.
Um I like wins, but it like kind of the reason that I also want to be on DM is I kind of think that being on 4 board wipes, if you count Psych Rift, is like where you want to be.
Yeah, I think Tivit being on more board wipes is just correct. I
Yeah.
think in general, like I literally just during that coaching session game I was telling you about, my opponent was like, okay, yeah, Pirate plus Malcolm, and then like Mana Dork and Mana Dork for my 2 opponents, and I was like, absolutely, I will deluge this board right now, like
Yeah.
for sure, it's so free.
I wish
And
there was like another instant speed board wipe.
yeah, for sure, that'd be sick.
Like I really wish like there was what I really wish actually is that like what's the card that whenever somebody who the attacking player you exile the attacking creatures and um from Ixalan uh it's the bane of standard
Oh,
players
Settle the
everywhere.
Wreckage?
Settle
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
Wreckage. I
yeah.
wish Settle the Wreckage was just everybody.
Yeah.
Because it's so good and I've
Well,
wrecked so many people.
it wouldn't change anything because it's only exiles attacking creatures, right?
Well, what I'm saying is I wish it
Oh, like
didn't
wiped all
say
boards? Yeah, yeah,
attacking
yeah.
creatures, it just said
Sure,
opponents.
sure.
That would be very strong, but or you could only
Yeah.
cast it during the attack step or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Like there's so many ways that I could word that card that would make it immediately playable.
Mhm, mhm.
But yeah, it's like I kind of want another. I wonder if like filter out is worth considering.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, like, the artifacts and enchantments aren't the problem against this deck, it's the creatures, right?
Yeah, that's
And not even
true.
the problem per se. Also, one thing I keep forgetting to mention about Childred is it does sort of answer one of the fundamental problems that Tivit faces, which is one of the reasons I'm kind of inclined to keep it in, which is that Tivit is a creature light control deck, right?
Hmm.
So in many circumstances, you're going to end up where like you will be like, oh yeah, I have a heuristic study and I wiped the board and like all of this stuff. It's like, but I'm down to 18 now, and I've sort of created an accidental artificial clock for myself. And then you
Yeah.
go get shielded, and you're like, okay, well now all these clues are little life batteries. Thank you so much. Like
And my heuristic
that,
study gains me a life every turn.
right,
And it's
right,
just
and
like,
like that is actually way bigger than you think. Like Sarah Ascendant was a card I was looking at for some time early on in this deck's life for that very reason. So
I mean, it
Shieldred,
makes wheels like win cons, right? Like,
Right.
like I have won
right.
a non-zero amount of games with Shieldred by just going, cool, Windfall, you're dead. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe the use cases I've seen with it were not enough, but, like, I was controlling a game the other day where I was like, "Oh, man, I would love to just Windfall kill them right now," and I'm like, "Oh, it does, like, 8 damage." Right? Like, it's good, but it's not like that, you know?
yeah.
And which is one of the reasons that, like, one of the other Time Twister arguments, right, is, like, you will always deal 14 damage Time Twister, right? Like, that is on the other hand,
The
you just have
floor for
enough of
Twister with that is a lot higher.
Yes, exactly, exactly. But once again, talk about the Douthie wheel scenarios with Windfall are, like, way better for that too, right?
Yeah.
There's so many, like, gives and takes with these cards, right?
And I think
The
that's
shitty argument is, like, also that Notion Thief is better with all of them,
right.
right? But that's not the luxury we have right now.
I think that is an interesting argument with or interesting discussion piece with the, like, gives and takes thing, because I think that, like, kind of goes into a very, like, hard to, like, pinpoint exactly what it is, but
Right.
specifically, like, how those little decision trees you make in your deck building process are going to, you need to make those based on what you know about yourself as a player. Because, like, there are some really, like, I think this is, I honestly, if I'm going to use a really good example, I think a good example of this is War of Invention and Transmute Artifact, because I think you can see through our discussion of that, where you can see the differences in how Ian and I play
Prioritize play pattern,
right?
for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's like, I think recognizing your priorities as a player and then making deck building decisions based upon that is, like, very crucial, because it's like the differences between our lists, you can see, like, I like to be able to play on the stack a little bit more than Ian, right? So it's like,
is that true?
I tend to play a lot more, like, sit back and, like, do things in response.
Yeah, I guess.
And
So
your card selection is a lot more proactive.
Yeah, so I mean, you really only have 2 more instant speed threats than I do in the deck as is.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
But, the nature of those threats is a little bit different, right? Like, the Whir is definitely, like, a piece that really is indicative of the patterns that you're talking about, right? Yeah, like,
well, and I think the Whir Imposter Mech combo, I think, is actually very indicative, because you can see, like, the thought process there very clearly.
Right. How's Stubbs been for you?
MVP, baby. So fucking good.
Okay.
It's
I really
so
love
fucking
Stubbs.
good.
I love that card, and I kinda wanted to play
It's
it,
never bad. I would play it over Spell Snare in an instant.
Yeah, I don't know that I wanna cut Spell Snare for it, but I feel like I can find a spot for it.
Cut
I
Misty
really like
2D. You know, like, what?
Well, no, I did that for console.
Well, yeah, that's true. No, Stubborn Denial is really good, because, like, so first of all, you have, like, a handful of creatures that actually turn it on. Which is specifically 2 creatures in your deck, but it can be more depending upon the situation. But, like, the worst, like, its floor is, it's a slightly worse Spell Pierce. Its ceiling is, it's negate on steroids. And so, like,
sure.
to me, like, if I'm making like, because, like, so many people were, like, on miscast or whatever, and I'm like, that's fine. I like the, like, the floor of Stubborn Denial to me is, like, good enough. Like, I don't think it's better. I don't think it's significantly worse than Spell Pierce enough to justify playing Pierce over Stubborn Denial. And that's where I'm just like, listen, I have enough scenarios where Stubborn Denial is just, like, Pog. I fucking love this card.
Okay, sick. Yeah, it's a card I'm really interested in. I don't know what spot to put it in for right now, but I do have a lot of interest in including it in the deck for sure.
Dispel's good one.
No, I'm Dispel Ride or Die, baby.
I've been so utterly unenthused by Dispel.
I'm aware. So is literally everyone else in the community, but Dispel has not stopped being that like workhorse for me.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason it's still in my deck,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like I haven't cut it, but
Yet.
it's a card that I do not feel great about playing.
That was funny. We're both on touch. I didn't realize that.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a recent ad for me. So
I've been on touch for a while. I remember like testing it for Columbus and then just being like, oh, this is just like the dumbest card I think of. Like it does what I want Dress Down to do, but better.
Sometimes I wonder if Besiege is like too cute. I don't know.
I mean, it won me 2 matches at Columbus.
Yeah.
Little bit of bias towards it.
Sure. And like, don't get me wrong, it was like insane the game I played it the other day. So like, but I don't know, like the non-Tivit version of Besiege. I guess I keep looking at it like it's like this triple black early game threat, and it's just not.
Nope.
It's a finisher.
Yep,
Yeah,
it's a finisher. And also like I'm playing Dark Rit, so like whatever.
Well, that's yeah. I was flipping through some opening hands, and like that to me was like, okay, maybe it's something to at least consider not playing. But I'm like, nah, that ain't it.
No, there's enough situations where you're just like, damn, this just won me the fucking game.
Yeah. No, for sure.
It's very good. The one card,
I don't know. I think I'm definitely like, if anything, this conversation has made me feel better about bringing Tivit. I think the big one, the two I'm considering seeing your work on this list is Stubbs and Narset. The Narset conversation really got sort of the gears moving.
Yeah.
That,
I think that draw hate right now in this meta is like at such a premium.
Best it's ever fucking been.
Like that's why I'm trying to find a slot for Bowmasters, because like I don't love Bowmasters in this deck by any stretch of the imagination. However, draw hate is just so fucking good.
Yes. I'm on it right now. It's sort of one of those things that I learned this lesson at Baltimore. You don't tutor for Bowmasters, but if you draw Bowmasters, you're fine.
Yeah.
It's just very solid.
I do think the play pattern of it is a little awkward. But like I think I can live with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, that's fine. The one card I'm interested that you don't play is Containment Priest. Is there a reason why?
It's narrow. I like Containment Priest a lot. I just one, it shuts off kitten lines, which is a little awkward. And it having that anti-synergy in the deck is that like little piece that I needed to be like, it's not worth it for me, right? So I think it's a good card. I think like fuck Kinnan, basically is sort of the motto there, right? But like it doesn't really hate two, I guess to say as well, right? Which are two very good decks in the format. And I guess it stops food chain lines unless I'm crazy.
No, because you still cast food chain unless it's like no, it doesn't even stop Sliver because you cast the stuff off of the
but the if a non-token creature went into the battlefield and it wasn't because they get cast.
Yeah, they cast all that stuff, so it's fine.
Yeah.
You know what? I think you just talked me into my Bowmaster swap.
There we go. Boom.
Yeah, I also do I do think generally I said this on the podcast last week, I think, is I do think there is a correct number of these like Containment Priest effects to play. The thing is that in this deck I do notice that there is like a lot of answers to issues, and I feel like this deck is maybe uniquely positioned to not need to play Containment Priest and those things.
Right. So, I think the inclination with a lot of these like Esper Bear strategies is like, okay, let's throw some more dudes in here and like make it a thing, right? But Tivit sort of benefits from the fact that like we can wipe the board and play a bunch of things, right? So like the fact that I'm on 14 creatures, one of them I consider basically like, actually I think two of them are not on board creatures, right? Like Thoracle, Displacer Kitten are not ones I want to put on the board until I'm winning, right? Grand Abolisher, I'd even argue is the exact same way. So that's basically like 13 creatures that of my 14 creatures, 3 of them I don't want. So 11 creatures are really what I'm trying to put on the board, right? 11 creatures out of 100 card deck means that I'm very happy to just blow up everybody's spot whenever it's convenient for me, you know?
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Yeah. I just want another board wipe that lets me keep Tivit is the problem.
Me too.
Yeah, I like, so for me, I'm either switching to Winds or Languish. Winds is just making me nervous. It really is. But like Winds, the argument for Winds that I really am enjoying right now is like, I don't give up the utility that Dam has with the current deck, which is like, it can be STR, single target removal, or it can be that full wipe, right? So I actually may have just mid-sentence convinced myself that I might just switch to Winds.
I think the utility, like, that's the reason why because I also understand your like hesitancy with it, because I also, I know I'm like a huge proponent of it, but I still have that same hesitancy. And like, to me, the fact that you have that utility with it, it's the same thing that makes Sickrobot playable to me. Right.
Yeah. I mean, look, Sickrobot is I think incomparable to any other card, right? Like, there's a reason we put it as our S tier board wipe, right? But it really is like a whole nother level. The instant speed nature of it's like giant, and the ability to time it is like insane. But I've also sorcery speed overloaded Sickrobot many times, right? I literally just won a game 2 days ago by doing that.
And I've also, single target removal used it many times, right? Like, it's
exactly.
Like, that's and when I compare it to it, that's like the aspect of it that I'm comparing it to, right? Is the ability of it to be so flexible. Is what I like about Dam and Winds. Is I just think it's like both of them are, and there's a reason why I want to find a slot for Dam. Is I just am like, listen, I kind of want to be on all the board wipes.
Yes, absolutely.
My Moxfield page is just not loading now.
I just had the same. I was literally I looked up Winds of Abandon to see which deck of mine has my Winds of Abandon in it. Yeah, and Moxfield just absolutely just shat itself.
So Moxfield is having a moment.
Hey, listen, we here at the Mind Sculptors fucking love Moxfield.
We love
it's
Moxfield.
Probably the best deck building up.
No, it's not probably. It just is.
If you could stop crashing mid episode, that'd be cool.
That'd be really cool. Yeah, Harry, if you want to get on that.
Yeah, well, while we're here, let's talk about something else that's pretty cool. Supporting this on Patreon. So if you're one of those frugal ladies, gentlemen, or anywhere in between, and you're like, hey, look, I don't know if I really want to invest in a podcast like the Mind Sculptors. Well, hey, what other podcast is literally sitting here having real life tournament prep talk as we're going through? You know, what other podcast is doing that? Now, have Callahan and I had not on a consistent basis.
True.
So, feel free to just, you spend like $1 or $2. I don't know what's the lowest tier?
$2.
$2. You spend two smackaroons,
two American doll hairs,
2 American USDs, and you get to be in our Discord. It's cool. There's a lot of shit happening in there. People post stuff. It's nice. And you get to support one of the 30 members of the Mind Sculptors.
Actually, you just support us too. The other 30 just exist.
Yeah, that's also very true. But no, seriously, if y'all can hit the like button and subscribe button, helps out a ton. Moxfield has just loaded for me, so I don't need you guys anymore.
Yeah, fuck Patreon. Fuck all of you. We hate you.
Yeah, and especially those fuckers listening just in the podcast form. YouTube audience, I got your back. You guys are watching. You guys are supporting the
I'm over here. I've got your back, Spotify. Don't worry. I love you guys. You make us a weird amount of money compared to YouTube.
Oh, well, wait a minute. Now I'm sort of really changing my tone here. Spotify, listen, I've loved you the whole time.
So this is super tangential, but if we had the exact same numbers on Spotify that we have on YouTube, we would actually make significantly more on Spotify. Because Spotify's ad rev deal that we have with them is like pretty good CPM.
Okay.
Right. If you are listening to this on YouTube, actually fuck you. Why are you not listening to this on Spotify?
You know what? Let's shout out the real ballers who sit down at their home. They have Spotify and YouTube up, and they hit play at the same time. That's the true,
the real heroes,
real Mind Sculptors, man.
You're a real Sculpty boy.
Honestly, if there's anyone out there willing to put themselves through that process, you've really earned my respect. And if you also, you can mute one, but don't tell the Spotify gods that.
Don't tell the Spotify gods that. That's amazing. Yeah, I remember having a conversation with another creator when we were in Minneapolis, where I was just like, yeah, dude, like Spotify pays. Like, if you can build up an audience, like a podcasting audience on Spotify, like the payout on Spotify is nuts. So
about to start uploading my videos to Spotify.
Yeah, you should.
Back to Tivit.
Back to Tivit. Bowmasters is in my list now. It's sick. not the main list because I don't do my edits in the main list.
I usually don't. I feel like I haven't played Tivit in a long enough time where people aren't going to be like, oh, look at the things Ian's doing on the deck.
Well, the thing is that whenever you update it on Moxfield, it immediately jumps up to the front of your updated queue.
Yeah.
So like when people go to the main page, they'll see, oh, Ian updated Cat and Sphinx. And then that's why I hide all of my edits.
I do normally too. I think this time I'm just like, yeah,
fuck it. So yeah, I think we have a pretty good idea of where we want to be for this tournament this weekend. And I'm pretty excited about it. I'm also excited about the fact that my wife is coming with this. My wife. I'm just knocking my microphone all the way into the background. Don't worry about it.
I'm very excited for my wife to get it.
I am very excited for this weekend. I'm excited to be in Columbus. Yeah. I am excited to be in Worthington, Columbus, which is where this tournament is at, which is, I don't know why I'm giving so much detail, but I'm just kind of flexing the fact that I know Ohio very well.
Ooh, and what a flex it is.
It's a good state. When we were in Columbus, you were like, yeah, I actually don't hate Columbus. And it's like, yeah, because it's like a nice town. Like it's
a good town.
Biggest city in Ohio. Everybody thinks it's Cincinnati, but it's actually Columbus.
Oh my God.
Listen, as I grew up in Columbus, here's the thing that's going to be wild is you will get to experience some Ohio State game day stuff. Because that was one of the things when we were looking at like hotels and Airbnbs and all of that and looking at pricing is like the room rate for the event is really good, but it's actually pretty normal. The only reason it's like better than what it would normally be is because Ohio State has played Penn State at home this weekend. So the entire town is just people coming in to see that game and then also play in this game. So, go Bucks. Hopefully they did not lose.
Devil to my right, we're going down. Hit the road, Jack, won't come back, no, you can sign me. Be the devil in my head, now here's to the cheaters. Hey, So